Hi, everyone. We're going to be talking about, I say this a lot, but we're going to be talking about one of my favorite people and one of the most brilliant and tragic stories that we'll talk about all semester. So, Oscar Wilde. And you can see here, kind of typically fabulously dressed, a provocative pose. He was very flamboyant. Um, Here he is with Bosie. Um, I had you read an excerpt from De Profundis, which is the letter that he wrote to Bosie, um, also known as Lord Alfred Douglas, from prison. How did he end up in prison? So, Oscar Wilde was born to upper upper class parents, Irish Protestants, and he idolized his mother. Um, his mother was born Jane Frances, but she changed her name to Speranza Francesca. She had a flair for the dramatic, I think, similar to Wilde. His career got off to a slowish start. He didn't have much in the way of money in terms of inheritance, but he started to gain attention from his writing. And what really made him famous was a tour of America. The press covered, he was very witty, the press covered almost everything that he said. He's reported to have said when he landed in New York, I have nothing to declare but my genius at customs. And he became a sensation. He decided to marry a woman named Constance Lloyd. They had two sons together, Vivian and Cyril. And for a while, the family was happy. But Oscar was gay. And so, although he enjoyed being a husband, he enjoyed being a father, he began to have affairs with men, most notably with Bosie, with the son of the Marquis of Queensberry. Now, if you know anything about the way the British peerage works, you have the royal family. Right below them, you have dukes. There aren't very many non-royal dukes at any time, between 20 and 30. And then below the rank of duke is Marquis, the Marquis, which was the rank of Lord Alfred's father. Lord Alfred's father did not approve of their relationship. And for a while, they kind of, Oscar ignored it. Even though Oscar Wilde lived in this profoundly prudish Victorian time, he did not do much to hide his homosexuality at all. And he felt like the public was on his side. He was popular, he was loved. The importance of being earnest, his masterwork. He's probably best remembered as the Victorian playwright, although he wrote in many other genres as well. And he felt untouchable. He also felt that Lord Alfred's father was an idiot, and in fact, he sent him, the Marquis of Queensberry sent him an angry letter, sent Oscar Wilde an angry letter that was, the book says, ludicrously misspelled. I'm going to read you this part from the book. If you want to read along, I'm on page 1820 at the bottom paragraph. Then, at the very crest of success, Wilde was brought down by catastrophe. Although homosexuality was a criminal offense in Britain, Wilde made little effort to conceal his relations with young men, or younger men, particularly Lord Alfred Douglas. But if society turned a blind eye, Douglas's father, the Marquis of Queensberry, did not. He hounded his son's lover relentlessly, finally sending Wilde a ludicrously misspelled note calling him a sodomite. He meant a sodomite, but anyway. Egged on by Douglas, and this part is really tragic because it seems like although Lord Alfred Douglas liked being the lover and in a relationship with a famous man, I don't know how much he really loved Oscar. He would do mean things. He would hide notes from other men for Oscar to find. He would play mean tricks that really put them both in danger. And then he sort of encouraged Oscar, knowing how powerful his father was, to sue the Marquis of Queensberry in court. His private affairs, Oscar's, were mercilessly exposed in court, and he lost the case. Wilde himself was then prosecuted for committing indecent acts, convicted, and sentenced to 2 years of hard labor. And his time in prison ruined his health and brought about his early death. By some accounts, he had diarrhea. I'm sorry, that's maybe too much information, but he was very, very ill his whole time in prison, could barely eat. The conditions were deplorable. And it was in prison that he wrote De Profundis, from the depths, as a letter to Bosie, as he called him, reflecting on what had happened and also forgiving him. Really powerful, and I had you read part of that for class. He said in the letter, "I don't write this letter to put bitterness into your heart, but to pluck it out of mine. For my own sake, I must forgive you." Wilde was allowed to take the letter with him when he left prison, but chose not to have it published until after his death. He died in Paris, in exile, converted to Catholicism on his deathbed, and typical of him, joked at the very end, "I'm dying beyond my means." I had you also read his aphorisms. He's known for his witty, clever statements. Be yourself, everyone else is taken, or is already taken, is attributed to a lot of people, but it's believed that he said it first. Last thing that I'm going to touch on is the preface to the picture of Dorian Gray, because this is the end of our Victorian unit, and a lot of Victorians had a lot of different ideas about what art could and should be. People like Matthew Arnold felt that it should do social good. People like Elizabeth Barrett Browning felt that the role of the author was to have a double vision and to communicate that to her audience. Here's what Oscar Wilde says: "The artist is the creator of beautiful things. To reveal art and conceal the artist is art's aim. The critic is he who can translate into another manner or a new material his impression of beautiful things. The highest and the lowest form of criticism is a mode of autobiography." Interesting. You could probably write quite a bit about that. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt without being charming. This is a fault. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated. For these there is hope. They are elect to whom beautiful things mean only beauty. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written or badly written. That is all. Very different perspective than some of the ones that we've been reading. So this week you may get a chance to reflect on some of what Wilde said, or the other writers, Kipling or Stevenson, that we have studied for the week. You also have your midterm to do this week. And of course, if you have any questions at all, I am here for you. Do not hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.